After having a banner 1931, Universal quickly became the king of monster movies, and so after the success of Dracula and Frankenstein, pushed forward with new concepts, and one that was not based on any source material, and one of their more famous ones outside of Dracula and Frankenstein is 1932's The Mummy. In just 1 year, Universal leapfrogged the competition and held a monopoly on horror movies in America. And with the momentum they received from Dracula and Frankenstein, Universal pressed on with more ambitious projects, including The Mummy from 1932. Unlike Dracula and Frankenstein, this wasn't based on any original source material. It was inspired by Howard Carter discovering King Tut's tomb in the early 30s. This movie would be directed by Carl... Dang it, what is up with people named Carl having difficult last names to pronounce? Anyway, he was the cinematographer for Fritz Lang's masterpiece, Metropolis, and would go on to be the main cinematographer for the TV show I Love Lucy. That is quite a range. And this movie tells the story of an Egyptian priest named Imhotep, played by Boris Karloff. He rises from the dead thanks to a magic scroll, and searches for his long-lost love. As I said earlier, Karloff will forever be known as Frankenstein's monster. However, if The Mummy proved anything, it's that he could be quite versatile and also quite articulate. Imhotep is an incredibly smart and cunning man, without coming across as condescending. But thanks to this movie's usages of makeup and shadow, it shows right away that this is not somebody you want to mess with. The makeup, once again, was done by Jack Pierce. Boris Karloff's first day on set was shooting the long and diligent process of the mummy awakening from his sarcophagus. And Pierce applying the mummy makeup to Boris Karloff seems like a task in and of itself. It essentially required Pierce to apply cotton, collodion, and spirit gum to Karloff's face, clay to his hair, and then wrapping him in linen bandages that were dipped in acid and then burnt in an oven. The job began at 11 a.m. It finished at 7 p.m. Karloff shot the scenes as the mummy until 2 a.m., and then another 2 hours after that was spent taking all of that crap off of Karloff's face. He later said about that day that it was the most trying ordeal that I had ever endured. Yeah, I can definitely understand why. I have a feeling, though, that this Mummy will be very disappointing for some, because, unfortunately, the Mummy versions that everybody remembers are the 1999 version starring Brendan Fraser and the 2017 one starring Tom Cruise. But I feel that this version is superior to those versions in many ways. While those movies tried to be action movies, The Mummy from 1932 was slow and almost dreamlike. It had some very graphic scenes which were not the norm at the time, but they were used sparingly. And even when Imhotep rises from his sarcophagus and the scientist sees him walking away, you don't see the mummy leave, and the mind is left to imagine what that scientist must have been thinking. It's a movie that not a ton of people remember today, but I think a lot of people should.